What's going on, everyone? Sid Gordon here with the Core Medical Podcast. And today I have my buddy Mike Zarate on, who was one of my favorite attendees at the Core Medical Foundation event 2 weeks ago, my home in South Carolina. Mike is the winner of an amazing hunt with us. We'll talk a little bit about that today. And also his foundation, and does amazing things. We're very excited to have him here. Mike, thanks for coming on, brother.
Thank you, man. I'm super honored to be here.
So typically how we start this podcast out, because we always want the audience to kind of understand the person. I like to give you the mic for the first 3 to 5 minutes. Talk about your childhood, talk about your life, talk about your achievements, talk about your non-achievements, and things that you're trying to get better at. And obviously your foundation, you can kind of dwindle in towards the end there, brother.
For sure. I mean, if we're going to talk about non-achievements, I might need more than 3 to 5.
I don't want to hear about those. You've overcome all of those.
Yeah. So, man, I was born in Texas, and I moved around a lot as a kid, but we pretty much settled down in San Diego. So I grew up in southern San Diego. I could basically throw a rock and hit the border of Mexico. But, dude, great place to grow up. I really didn't know any different. So I was happy there, man. I basically lived on the beach as a kid. But before I even turned 18, I ditched 3 days of school to join the Marine Corps. I got all signed up and ready to go, and I was just waiting to leave. So the second I graduated high school, I was out of there. And I really haven't gone back since. But yeah, so I joined the Marine Corps, and I was very, very fortunate as a young kid. My first duty station was Okinawa. So, being super far from home and just really forced me to grow up.
What year was that?
I joined in 2006. So,
okay.
2006. And I pretty much got the best job in the Marine Corps. I was a dog handler. So, young 18-year-old kid, man, I right away, I just learned how to be a dog handler, got shipped to Okinawa. And then I had an amazing group of people that really helped build me and grow me as a handler. And I was real fortunate. I was able to work basically every dog that the Marine Corps offered. I had explosive detection, narcotic detection, and I even worked a tracking dog towards the end of my tenure in the Marine Corps. But from Okinawa, I deployed to Iraq and came home. Immediately had to PCS down to Pendleton. So I did go back to California for a bit, but PCS back to Pendleton, I showed up and they were like, "Hey, we're leaving Afghanistan, so we got a dog if you want one." I said, "Hell yeah." I snatched that dog up and immediately turned right back around and went to Afghanistan. So again, Pendleton, amazing group of guys. Super honored to know everyone or to have met everyone that I did there. I was very fortunate again. Got to do a lot of cool stuff, a lot of, security stuff for different people, Pope and Commandant of the Marine Corps, President, whatnot. But yeah, so eventually my time in the Marine Corps came to an end, and it was a tough decision, but I ended up getting out. And once I got out, I got hit up by a recruiter, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to go contract over in Baghdad, do some embassy security?" So I was like, "Dude, I got a kid on the way and you're offering me 6 figures." I was like, "Hell yes." Dude, when can I leave? And I was gone within a couple weeks, man. So, and I was already with my wife at the time. And dude, I always, when I get the chance, I always have to, just huge shout out to my wife, man. For the first 10 years of our marriage, we spent more time apart than we did together. So she was there with me through everything, man, and supported me through everything. So I couldn't have done it without her. But contracting was pretty cool. It wasn't anything too crazy. We were pretty much just inside the green zone in Baghdad the whole time, just primarily embassy security. Still working a dog, so it was a good skill set to have. Paid fairly well at the time. And so yeah, after a while, I had a second kid, and I was still gone. I was still contracting. The way those contracts worked, I was basically gone 9 months out of the year and home 3 months. Pretty rough, as you can imagine. So it got to a point where I was telling my wife, look, if you want me to come home, I got to start, casting a wider net than trying to stay in California. I got to go. I'm talking nationwide. So I started applying all these jobs, and I got picked up for a job out in Maryland. Never even been to Maryland in my life. Just rolled the dice, moved there sight unseen, and I ended up doing some law enforcement out there. I was working with DHS for a number of years. It was a beautiful place to raise my kids. I really, got real deep into hunting and fishing out there, and it was just like an amazing place. I couldn't have asked for a better place to raise my kids. Even now they're 10 and 12 now. They just had birthdays, but my boys are 10 and 12 now, and we still talk about like, Dad, you remember all the time we spent in the woods? So beautiful place to be. But the way things are, I kind of realized I was reaching the pinnacle of where I would be in that agency I was with. So I decided it was time for a change. I rolled the dice again, and now I'm in Utah, another state. I'd never even been to Utah in my life. The closest I got was Colorado, and
Uh-huh.
there's an opportunity, man, and I took it. And again, my wife was right there supporting me all the way, and we just moved here and figured it out. But overall, you know what, man, I'm happy I did it. I originally left contracting to spend more time with my kids, and when I got that job in the DC area, I was gone just as much. So, I realized that I'm going to blink my eyes and my boys are going to be men. So I knew I had to be home for them, and I was willing to sacrifice, the things I wanted for what I knew was important. So I made the decision to leave all that, and now I just work like a regular admin job. And to be honest with you, I've never been happier. So I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I did it. But the beautiful thing is it gave me an opportunity to start kind of really focusing on what is real important to me aside from my family, but which is my the nonprofit. So a couple years ago, I started a nonprofit. It's called Fighting Chance Athletics, and the main focus is getting kids involved in grappling sports, combat sports, providing them with the uniforms, gear, and equipment that they need to start training and stay training. And since then we've kind of expanded our mission a little bit, and even now we're continuing to expand. But it's been nothing but positive for me. It's been tremendous, and yeah, man. I mean, I think I've rolled the dice a lot in my life, and so far I just keep coming up lucky, I guess.
So
Well,
I want to go back to, so we talk about a lot. We talk a lot about like personal, like daily systems, mentality,
yeah,
drive, you know, getting out of your eggshell. Tell me a little bit about yourself when you were a kid. What was your mindset like? Were you playing a lot of sports? Were you training jits? Were you wrestling? Were you kickboxing? Like, where did the mindset come from just to know exact? Because most kids don't know when they're in high school, like right when they graduate, that they want to go into the military. What separated you from those people? Do you think what makes your mindset so different? Because I spent some time with you at this event, and like your energy's fucking awesome. It's similar to mine. It's like go go go. You're like excited guy. You love to see success. I can already tell, even with yourself, with others, probably with your family. That probably drives you a lot. Talk to me a little bit about like uh, what separated you from others, because you're definitely different, and kind of how that got you to where you are today.
yeah. And you know what, man? To be completely honest, for me, it's always it's a learning process. It's like a muscle that you have to work to get stronger. And if I'm being 100% honest, as a kid, dude, I was lazy. I was lazy. I wasn't like really motivated to do anything. I wasn't really interested in anything other than just being like wild. But I was a wild kid, and like
Well, we have that in
um
common.
yeah, yeah, dude. I was doing crazy stuff all the time. But my mom ended up remarrying, and she married, man, like, I refer to him as my dad because he pretty much raised me. But man, that guy left school, walked out of high school, and just told himself, like, when I leave here, I'm making a decision that I will have to work my fingers to the bone to be successful. And he basically told me, like, I was okay with that decision, but I knew that there was no going back. And I just, there's no wavering. There's no, I make a decision, I commit to it, and that's it, and watching him, he used to, worked in construction for 40 plus years, and he would always do side jobs. So it was like every day after school and almost every Saturday, I was out there at his side jobs, like pouring cement and like just like hard work. Like, and I just watching this man, like create something out of nothing. And just like that we show up and it's just dirt, and then we leave and it's this beautiful patio, and like, and it's just like, man, we did that, and like with these two hands and his brain,
Yeah, yeah.
so I think that played a major impact on me as I got older. And it also probably helped that he said, hey, look, you got two options. One is you're going to go to college, or two, you're getting a job, or excuse me, three options really. One, you're going to college. Two, you're getting a job. Three, you're going in the military. Either there is no fourth. You're not staying in this house doing nothing. So make your mind up, figure out what you want to do, and do it. And I was like, I don't want to go to college because I've like barely passed in high school. I was like, dude, I was never there. I was not interested in that. And yeah, I was like, I knew I didn't want to just get some whatever job, so it was the Marine Corps, and I was like, best decision I ever made, So I got to thank him for that, and really, again, like I don't think there was this innate thing in me where I was just like, I felt like driven. No, it was really something I had to learn, and something I'm continuing to learn to this day. I still, sometimes I'm like, got to kick myself in the ass. I'm like, hey, you need to get in gear, man, and go,
So there's a lot. The majority of the people that come on this podcast have a similar, some type of direct or indirect similar story to me. And I grew up very similar. My mother remarried my stepdad, who I also pretty much call my dad. Worked construction. Ran. It was a foreman for the big dig in Boston. Ran big freaking trucks. I remember being in the trucks with him. He'd be driving in these like lanes and these tunnels that were like smaller than the truck, but the truck seemed to fit every time. And I'd sit there and watch, and he would work legitimately from 4:30 in the morning till 2:30 in the afternoon, and then work more in the afternoon doing something. And he never had a sick day, like ever, right? And then when I turned 14, I started doing landscaping, and then I started to run heavy machinery. And then, I was forced to work just because it was like it distilled in you that you like have to keep moving in my household, right? Yeah. And it's amazing. I say this a lot. Like, it's really important for kids to work in some type of service, like a restaurant, getting their asses handed to them, or doing manual labor. I think that manual labor of having someone telling you what to do, you can't talk back. Well, back where I came from, I worked for a very intense human doing manual labor, and he'd throw boulders at me if I did something wrong, right?
Yeah.
And like now he'd be an HR nightmare, but like back then it was like normal, right? You suck, you're the worst at your job, fuck you, blah blah blah. All right, now go back over there and do it right, Yeah. And I learned a lot from that, because when you learn a chain of command, which obviously better than me, that you're low on the totem pole, it teaches you humility. Right. And humility at a young age is very difficult to learn. And I believed like I did learn that then, and I'm really good at it now. So that's interesting. So going back, so how about your mindset, your routine now versus then? Like, I kind of feel like you're in a pretty solid routine. Like, you're a type of guy where you probably pretty much are similar to me, to where you're consistent in doing the things that you do on a daily reprieve. Is that accurate?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And like I said, it really has just been years of kind of exercising that, right? And I mean, you lump on top like, hey, I'm also responsible for three other human beings, and they rely on me every single day. So it's like, well, now I really don't, I don't have any excuse now.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
There's no other option. But then on top of that, I constantly hear my dad in the back of my head, like, you're such a pussy. Like if I'm not doing something I should be, it's just like, oh man. So I know, I like, man, I'm very like set in my routine. There's things I need to do, that are, things that I know need to be done. They get done when I commit to something. Like, I'm doing it, man. I don't care how, I will find a way, and it's going to happen, So, and again, it's, I've just realized over the years that, like, man, I'm not special. I didn't come from like money. I didn't, I just like everything I have, just like that patio and that cement that we poured, like everything I have now, like I built on my own. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the
Good.
fact that like I wasn't taking handouts and I wasn't like, I had to fight for everything I have. And even though I know some people have more, but I'm not concerned about that because I didn't earn that and I will get there one day. But right now I'm right here and I appreciate what I have and where I'm at and what I've done for myself.
I
So
love
yeah,
that, dude.
yeah.
I have a business mentor who's like I talk about a lot on this podcast, JP. I don't think he's listened to one of these yet, but whatever. When he does, he's going to hear his name a lot. JP is one of the most successful men that I know personally, and he tells me this quite often. He's like, even though you feel like there's more of a target on your back by celebrating your success, you need to do it
Mhm.
for the 1% of people that need to hear it.
Yeah.
So like for you to celebrate the fact that you've worked so hard and that you've built a good life for your family, some people will be jealous of, right? But
Yeah.
other people will come to you for advice. And like
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in saying, the only thing I really brag about is that event that we were at 2 weeks ago. Like I brag about that
Mhm.
event because dude, that event, it's an intimate event. You've probably been to a million of them. I've been to quite a few. There's some things that I could obviously do better. It's the third year. It's a lot of work. It's hard. There's a lot of moving parts. I should probably minimize a few moving parts. But I'm super proud of that event. Like I believe that that is an amazing event.
Mhm.
And I'm also super proud of my kids. I celebrate those things. So it's really
Mhm.
good to hear that, like, I don't know if anyone's ever told you to do it before that, but that you just have so much pride in the fact that you've made such a great family unit, that you've worked really hard to achieve that. And my hat's off to you for engaging with that.
Well,
So talk to me more about this the foundation that you have. What are your roles there? What do you guys do in order to achieve the goals there? Are there events, fundraisers, stuff like that?
mhm. So, well, first of all, I want to say about your event, man. I know like you and I caught each other at one time and you just sort of like took a breath and I was like, it's a lot, right? You're like, dude, I don't stop, man. I don't stop. And so I will say from my perspective, I could see how much work that, dude, I've thrown like a kid's birthday party and even that's a lot of work, organizing any event. And then, I'm sure you see every flaw, that everything that's going wrong. But like from an outsider perspective, walking in, number one, I could see the time, attention, and detail that was put into that. And I could see like the love, man. Like that event doesn't happen without someone who genuinely cares, and that's honestly like that was my favorite thing about coming to core is like I I could feel it the second I like talked to Brandon, who's my coordinator. Dude, I could just feel it. Like it was unlike any other place I've ever been where it was like I felt like, man, that guy really cares about me.
He
Like
does.
me when I first met you, whether or not we like you recognize who I was, but
No,
dude,
I
you
didn't.
came.
I'm like saying to myself, we just talked for like an hour about deer hunting. And I'm like, I did guy won the deer hunt. I'm like, do you hunt? I'm like, dude, oh my God. My head was
Yeah,
spinning so crazy. And then I felt like, oh man, I wasn't paying attention enough. And then,
no,
but I
no,
mean, you
not at
get it.
all.
I'm happy it was you, not somebody else who
Yeah.
really fucking doesn't get it?
Yeah. But the fact that you just came up, dude, you shook my hand and it was like we just drifted off in this conversation like we've known each other for 1,000 years. And I'm like, and I could tell that's how you handle your business, because I feel it. But so man, that event is amazing, and I'm going back next year,
Good.
if you'll have me. So,
Absolutely.
um, but yeah, so getting into the nonprofit. So man, I've been super, super fortunate. My kids started wrestling at when they were 3 and 5, and like basically since day one, I've been lucky enough to just be able to coach them. Right. So I've been coaching them I've been coaching youth wrestling and jujitsu for like about 10 years now. And man, wrestling is the craziest sport. It is just the most intense sport there is, but kind of going back to what we were talking about, that hard work, that manual labor, that
Hmm.
like learning humility. that sport will humble you like no other sport there is, right? And I've throughout these years, I've watched the transformations that have happened to those kids on that mat. Like, I watch a kid day one, never wrestled before in his life. Not only does he show up not know what he's doing, but then he's going up against kids who maybe have wrestled 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons.
Yeah.
He's getting demolished. I'm talking like no mercy. There's no mercy in wrestling.
None.
And this kid is just getting destroyed. But you know what? He shows up the next day. And I'm just like, dude, that right there, you cannot teach. You cannot teach that level of heart. And that's what it is, man. But aside from that, in Maryland, we lived in like kind of a weird area where it was like um there were some like lower income areas, it's like Helma Sticks, like very similar to like kind of South Carolina area, right?
You drive down my street, you're like, where the hell am I going? And then you get to the end, you're like, oh my God, where did I just end up?
I locked the door. I was like, oh, just kidding. But no, so dude, these kids would show up and they would go an entire wrestling season without shoes on their feet. And I was just like, like, to me, I just thought like, man, you could buy wrestling shoes for like $25, but then I had to like detach myself a little bit and say like, hey, wait a minute. Like,
that's how bad it is.
Because just because $25 seems like nothing to me, like that could be, the difference between eating or not for this kid. I don't know. I don't know their scenario. So I always did what I could, like within my team or whoever needed stuff. I would like hook them up with what I could. But I started to realize like, oh, this issue spans way past my little wrestling club, or whatever. So, dude, I just had this like idea. It just like, it was gnawing at me for years, and every season and every time I go to jiu-jitsu, it's just like I couldn't stop thinking about it. So eventually, man, I just reached out to a few other Marines and I was like, hey, dude, like, this is what I got. This is my idea. I need a board. I need a few other people to start this thing. So are you in or not? And they were sold, man. So like, again, primarily the vision started with just providing uniforms, gear, and equipment that kids need to be able to participate in grappling sports. Specifically, we started with grappling sports because like wrestling, judo, jiu-jitsu. But the dream was always to expand to combat sports, right? So to include boxing, MMA, Muay Thai, kickboxing, and all tough sports, brutal sports. But in my opinion, I think it's essential. I think it's essential to growth, So along with wrestling, my sons both do jiu-jitsu and they both box. And dude, I have watched those boys, man. And it's not because they're my sons, because believe me, I'm very hard on my sons. But I've watched those boys and the other boys that are in there with them go to war, like little kids going to war. And it's just like, man, it's impressive to see. It is impressive to see, and the level of determination and the regardless of the tears, the desire to just continue to push forward, to push through that adversity, and come out on the other side. And at the end of the day, they grow from that. And so I mean, I just knew that I know that there's this power in these sports. I can't, it's a ton of adjectives I could throw at you, but I don't know. It's this thing, whatever that thing is that you find in these sports, every kid needs to experience that. And I would hate for a kid to miss out on that because they can't afford to do it. Right. So
what I was going to say is that, your mentality really it's an amazing mentality, because I'm a believer too, that the experience that you're helping these kids receive could be the difference of them going in a good or a bad direction in life. And my fiance's family is the Angle family. My step uncle's Kurt Angle. His son is Marky Angle, Clarion wrestler. Greg Jones just left the studio, who was Marky's roommate at Clarion. Marky and Greg were probably two of the best ever to be on the wrestling mat, but to be a good wrestler. Big Mark, Jackie's dad, used to tell me, I said, how did you get Kurt to the Olympics and win the Olympics with a broken back? He said, well, The reason why I got him there, kid, is because I wanted it more than him. And
Yeah.
you know, for to be a good wrestler, you have to wrestle every day. You have to wrestle when you're young. You have to have a dad
Mhm.
or someone who really wants you to do real well, because it's a hard
Mhm.
sport. You at that young age, it's really hard to push yourself. And if you can push yourself, you're very special. Most can't. You know, I trained jiu-jitsu for a very long time. Had my own school down here, with two of the best coaches probably that ran the school that I can think of down in Florida, which says quite a bit.
Mhm.
And you know, I started jiu-jitsu at an older age. I boxed really young, and that really changed my life. Like I did jiu-jitsu started jiu-jitsu at 27. Since 27 till now, I've never been in a fist fight. Like it changed my
Mhm.
whole mentality of like, all right, you
Yeah.
know what, dude, this is like, you know, and you know, even my uncle Kurt, he's never been in a fight in his entire life, simply because people were probably petrified. Number one, but number two, he had that humility of like, dude, I'll kill you. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't need this.
Oh yeah.
And you know, there's so many things of what you just said. So many people don't think about. They're like, well, you know, I have this other foundation that, you know, keeps kids off the street. Well, guess what? You know, your foundation is keeping kids off the street and doing more.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of things that are so true in that statement of like the difference of that kid being able to come to wrestling practice and eating. Obviously, we need to eat first, right? Or we
Yeah.
can't wrestle.
Yeah.
Is such a big thing. So like that's amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Well,
amazing.
and you know, so like with the idea, with our like original mission kind of expanding. Originally, it was like, hey, let's get these kids, you know, uniform items, a gi, no gi stuff, wrestling shoes, whatever the case may be. And we've done that. We sponsored a high school down here in Salt Lake City. The entire team, no one had headgear, so we just bought everyone headgear. You know, it's like, hey, if that's what you need to wrestle, then boom, here you go. You know, and bought a bunch of them shoes and whatnot. But you know, I couldn't get over the fact, like, well, what about the kids that can't even get in the door? So I'm super proud, man. We worked, you know, there's a lot of background work to it, but you know, aside from just fundraising and stuff like that, but you know, just there's like the general administrative stuff. But man, we finally started up a scholarship program. So now we're going to do a scholarship program, and the goal is not just like, hey, get them in there. The goal is, so we partnered one specific gym we partnered with. It's in National City back in California, and really, actually, where I kind of grew up was National City, and it's a rougher area, you know. And I met this instructor there. His name is Chris Ritchie, man. And this guy was just immediately a Navy veteran. Dude, this guy was immediately all over it. I sort of pitched the idea of what I was looking to do, and he was, dude, he ate it up. He's like, this is what we need,
It's
you
great
know.
to find people like
So
that.
yeah, dude, I know, right? So you know, basically, you know, our on our end, we provide tuition, so we pay for the kids' training. We also provide them with whatever uniform items they need. And but on top of that, like Chris and I were talking yesterday, and I basically drafted up an agreement, right? And I think one of the biggest problems we have today with you know a lot of kids is there's no accountability, right? I can get on social media, I can say whatever I want, there's no accountability, right? But you know, I'm sure like when you and I were growing up, like you say the wrong thing to the wrong person, like you're like
Lights out.
there's consequences, right? So I think we've lost a lot of a sense of accountability for things. So
Yeah.
my point is that it's not just, hey, let's pay for these kids to train and then good luck. You know, I hope you learn what you need to. Chris, primarily, right, is who's the instructor there. He's taking the time and making the effort to like mentor this kid, to watch after him, to make sure that he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. And part of that agreement is like, hey, like showing up to class, that's great. I want you to be here, but your grades better be, you know, minimum of whatever the minimum GPA is. I don't know if it's still 2.0. I mean, that's what it was when I was a kid, but it could change. Either way, you need to maintain your grades. Like you cannot be getting suspended and like getting in trouble at school, and you can't be getting arrested doing drugs or anything like you're doing any of that. You know,
You're
we're going to
gone.
suspend this or terminate it, right? So now they have a level of accountability, and they have to realize like you're being given an opportunity here. You know, like dude, I wish I would have, I wrestled in high school and stuff, but I honestly, I was just so like, I was
Whatever.
chasing
Yeah.
girls. Yeah, I was chasing girls, man. Like, let's be honest. I was more interested in other things. And had I had I been given this opportunity as a kid, like I would hope that I wouldn't squander it, and I think if someone would have really held me to the fire, like I probably would have just pursued it, really, hard.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, so I mean, it's more than just like you're saying, like, oh well, let's get them off the street. Like, no, I want there to be a follow-on foundation, right? I want there to not just be get them in the door. I want them get them in the door and make sure they're staying on track all the way through, because they're at critical times where they're going to go left or right, and it's always 50-50. You never know. Like,
Yep.
but if I can help, if I can try to have some sliver of influence and hopefully get them to maybe lean a little bit farther to the right side, I'll take it.
No,
I'll take whatever I can get.
so yeah, I mean, I think of that as almost like a retention plan, like of trying to get these kids
Yeah.
to stay on track. It's what's sad is that they have this accountability outside their home.
Mhm.
And I see it a lot right now. I mentor a few kids a year that are decide not to go to college, like myself, and decide to, maybe go on and run a business or go on and work for somebody, but they have hopes and dreams of opening a business and great ideas. And some of the kids are 18, some are 25, and the thing is what's kind of sad is that you hold them accountable, you give them an outline, and they go home and there's no support. And
Mhm.
that's hard because it's like a uphill battle because you're trying to
Yeah.
get the kids to go in a direction of success, and then there's no positive reinforcement when they walk through the threshold of their own home. And
Mhm.
that's a big fight. Are you experiencing that?
You know what? So far, because it's something that it's like we're like discussing this with the parents. That being said, I mean they are kids, right? Like if they live 10 miles away, and they have no means to get to class, like yeah, they do rely on their parents heavily. But yeah, definitely like trying to just explain to the the family unit as a whole, like, hey, look, this is why we're doing this. These are the benefits. Here's the benefits of you know participating in this, and especially those kids that are kind of on the fringe, right? Like they're sort of at that rough patch where they're not, um not that we're not necessarily like targeting, kids that are they're doing bad things, but hey, it's dude,
Just
I
the way
was
it
one of
goes. Yeah,
I
me
was
too.
one
Yeah,
of them, man. Yeah,
totally
so
get it.
so just trying to explain big picture, and really I think it comes down to that sort of like small unit leadership, right? So where it's there's no way that like I myself and like my team can manage all these kids, right? So we kind of put it in the hands of the gym owners and or the instructors that are there, and that's why we are very selective on who we decide to partner with, because I don't want to. I'm not looking to partner with someone just so I can get some data. Oh, we provided this many kids. No, like the whole point, that's not the point of any of this. The point is to truly make an impact.
Yeah, you
That's
want the
where
success.
yeah,
I
I don't care about numbers. I don't care about how many kids we push through a pipeline. I care about how many kids are 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 we actually impacting? How many kids, how many lives are we actually changing? And then the ripple effect goes on from there, because those kids will have kids.
Yep.
And a wise man once said, I don't know who said this, so I can't quote them directly,
Probably
but
wasn't
they,
me.
yeah, no, it definitely wasn't me. But they said when you teach your kids, you're not teaching your kids, you're teaching your kids' kids.
Yep. Yeah, I've
And I
heard that.
think about that every day. I think about that every day when I'm with my kids, and I like I try to teach them everything I know.
Yep.
Everything I know, good or bad, I try to teach them, because I know one day, like they're going to be teaching their kids, and they're telling them everything that I told them. So,
So talk to me a little bit about Brandy and Beyond the Barracks Foundation. How'd you guys meet? You guys do some stuff together, or
mhm. Yeah. So, man, Brandy is
she's
to be
awesome.
honest, yeah, she's amazing. She's absolutely amazing. We just randomly met through social media. I don't even know how. You know what? Actually, I do remember. She just sent me like a message like, "Where are you?" And I was like, "Who is this?" I was like right now, or she's like, "No, what state are you in?" I was like, "I'm in Utah," and then we just started talking about her organization. She just sort of like, just reached out to me and was like, "Hey, if
Yeah,
there's
she's
anything
not
that I can
shy.
do."
She's definitely not
No,
shy.
not at all.
No.
Yeah, no. And but just reached out to me. Hey, if there's anything I could ever do. And then I sort of just started picking her brain, like about, I could tell like she's been in this nonprofit game for a long, long time. She has tons of knowledge. She has, just like this way about her, that
She
she just
does.
gets stuff done, man. So yeah, just we just slowly started talking about stuff and then eventually started collaborating. So um Beyond the Barracks, their main mission, they're a nonprofit. Their main mission is, they support veterans. They foster, a sense of community in veterans. They find, different outlets for these veterans to pursue. So Brandy and I started talking about jujitsu and grappling sports and stuff like that. She's like, "Man, I've always wanted to start helping these veterans like get into jujitsu." She's like, "I just don't really know much about it." So that's kind of how our
Got it.
collaboration came up, right? So now Brandy and I have a collaboration going on, and we basically do the exact same thing that Fighting Chance Athletics does, but we're just partnered together. So we are providing scholarships through Beyond the Barracks and Fighting Chance Athletics, and that specifically target the children of active duty and veteran
Oh, that's awesome.
from the veteran community. But we're also going to start branching off into active duty and veteran
Oh, that's
members of
great,
the
dude.
community. So, and then the same for Fighting Chance. We're currently working on starting up a sort of a little facet of our nonprofit that specifically targets veterans and gets them involved with jujitsu and whatnot. So, man, Brandy has been absolutely amazing and really, really kind of pushed me and sort of challenged me, to really kind of get outside my comfort zone and start taking on more things than and sort of like uh, growing this nonprofit idea a little bit faster than maybe I would have on my own. But it's kind of like she's been like very much like a mentor in a lot of ways. Where there's a lot of stuff. Hey, I know I don't know everything. I'm aware of that. I'll get out there and do. I'll try anything. I'll do anything. I'm not scared to do it, but it's a lot easier if you have
Yeah.
the information. if you know a little
I'm a
bit
big
about it.
fan of asking a lot of questions when I don't know something these days because I
A
just
hundred
don't. I mean,
percent.
I just don't want the brain trauma anymore of trying to
Yeah.
figure it out, right? And then failing, and when I could just have humility and walk up to someone and be like, "Hey, dude, can you help me with this?" It's way
100%.
easier.
And
Yeah.
and I feel like real fortunate as a kid. I recognized very early on, especially like with my dad, I was like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about. Whereas most kids are just like, I'm gonna resist that as much as I can. But
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
was very much like, oh, he said this would happen, and boom, look at me now. And so I think I keyed in on that pretty early in life. I'm very fortunate in that fact, where when certain people talk, I make sure I listen, and I'm not just gonna hear what you're saying, but like I'm gonna absorb it and I'm
Yeah.
gonna implement it in my own life. And it's the same with Brandy, man. She just, and kind of like what I was saying about you, she just has this very genuine way about her where when she talks to you, like you could tell, like, oh, she cares,
Yeah.
like
She does. She really does.
yeah, she's very unique person, and I'm real glad that she came into my life and that we've been able to work together because it's been amazing. So
So we
yeah,
have a couple things coming up. Number one, we have an event that I'm going to be attending and sponsoring. I don't know if you're going to the comedy show that she. Do you go to the comedy show that she does like next month?
yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Yep,
So Byron's speaking there, um,
yep, yeah,
and
I
then
heard.
Cody and I are flying out to the golf tournament in California, golf
Yep,
tournament, and then like a lounge thing, and then a bear hunt. I guess we have going
yeah,
on. So
yeah,
I'm taking Brent from the event out, my new hire that you'll be hunting with in Ohio. Um,
right on.
Brent works with Core and manages all the property we have up there, which is going to be amazing. You'll have a blast.
Yeah.
Um, we're really excited all about that. And so, what do I expect in California at that event? the golf tournament. Are you a golfer?
I mean, like I said, I'll do anything.
Because there's no way I'm golfing. I'll tell you right
Dude,
now.
I'm not golfing. I'm not golfing at all. I've told Brandy, I was like, "Do I gotta golf?" She's like, "No, you don't have to golf." I was like, "All right."
Yeah.
I was like, "I'll just like guard the drinks or something out."
Yeah,
I'm just gonna be
sure.
there hanging out, man. I'm not much of a golfer, to be honest with you. I know enough to get myself in trouble, but not enough to be competitive. So
Yeah.
I'm more than content with just hanging out and just shooting the breeze with people. So
Good.
if you're not golfing, I guess you and I will be hanging out.
Yeah. So yeah, Cody's like, I'm not golfing either. All I am is thumbs. That's it.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was funny, but we'll go hang out, and then I guess there's a bear hunt after. Like, super excited about that.
Yeah.
We wanted to extend something to you. You know, we like to support other foundations. So we had some overage from the Core Medical event, and we'd like to donate $1,000 to your foundation to help you guys out. Maybe put some shoes on some kids. And wanted to really thank you for being such a staple at this event this year. You know, you really stood out, and you were super helpful. Right there, I was asking, "Hey, is there anything I can do for you?" Which I appreciate. And being surrounded by a bunch of guys that were operators, you hear that a lot. What you need, Sid. What you need, Sid. And it's just great to be in that community. The feedback we got this year was just unbelievable, and you're a big part of that. So, we're gonna send you guys a check for $1,000 from the foundation, from our foundation to yours, and hopefully we can help a couple kids out there with that.
Man, that means a lot. And number one, thank you. I really appreciate it. Obviously being a nonprofit, this is nothing is possible without money, right?
Yep. I get it, believe me.
yeah. So, when I chose the people that I chose to be board members, to hold positions, I made it very clear to them, like, hey, we are in no way taking a dime of this money. Like, this is, you're going to be doing all of this for free for as long as I'm here. Like, we're not misappropriating funds here. We every dime is going to these kids. So I was like, if you're not okay with that, then just let me know, and we'll,
find somebody else.
Right
Yeah.
So for me, it's very, very important to be as transparent as possible. There's enough crooks in this world. It's like these kids they're going to be running this country pretty soon. So it's like, man, if we can make an impact, that's what we need to do. But also, I will tell you, like, that money's going to go directly into these sponsorships. We're going to sponsor a kid, and I'll keep you posted on that. And just know that, Core Medical is going to be doing some good. So I appreciate it, man.
So we'll post this down below the podcast, but tell us how people find your organization and what they can do to help, other than donate if there is. But most of the time, it's hard to ask, right? You're asking for money all the time.
I know.
But at the same time, like when you have operations under control and you have resources under control and you're getting discounts on certain things to help kids, what it comes down to is just funding the main goal. So tell us how that people can find the foundation, what the Instagram is, if there is one, what the website is, if there is one, and then we'll post it below as well.
Yep, definitely. So you could find us at fightingchanceathletics.org. You can find us on Instagram. Just type Fighting Chance Athletics. You'll see this little logo here, and that's us. We have a fundraiser going on right now through Instagram. But there's a way to donate on the site. I'm actually in the process of building out a sales portion, because I just had these shirts produced. They're pretty cool. I like them. But you could buy a shirt, and essentially every single dime from that shirt is just going to go right back into our scholarship program. We're not taking a dime. Like, I paid for all these shirts out of my own pocket and just counted it as a donation, because I want every single dime to go right back to the scholarship program. And that way we could start opening up our veteran arm as well, and really start getting these veterans involved in some good stuff. So primarily online, fightingchanceathletics.org, or just look us up on Instagram and Fighting Chance Athletics.
Well, brother, I can't wait to see you in Cali, and I'm very excited to have you up at my home in Ohio. We're gonna have a blast. Hopefully, you kill one quick. We can go to PA and get another one.
Heck
But
yeah.
thanks for taking the time today, dude. I know it's valuable, and I'm very grateful for you, and grateful to call you a friend, Mike. So thanks again.
Hey, thank you so much, Sid. I really appreciate it, man. And again, if there's anything you ever need from me, just reach out, let me know.
Thanks, guys. Guys, thanks for tuning
All right.
in, and we will see y'all soon. Peace.